The story is that, as you've heard all day long, Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, among like 30 people arrested by the FBI. I don't. Do I think the headlines are interesting? Yes. I actually think some of the details in some of these stories are more interesting than, like, I don't know what Chauncey Billups did. I know Chauncey. I played basketball with him when we were in high school. He stayed at my house. We've remained friendly, but we're not like boys. That doesn't mean I'm distancing myself from him. I'm just saying I have no idea what he did. The Terry Rozier, obviously a lot of that, but the details are really interesting. First, let me play a couple things for you. Here's Kash Patel, who's the FBI's director, at a press conference earlier today.
Individuals such as Chauncey Billups, Damon Jones, and Terry Rozier were taken into custody today. Former, current NBA players and coaches. What you don't know is that this is an illegal gambling operation and sports rigging operation that spanned the course of years. The FBI led a coordinated takedown across 11 states to arrest over 30 individuals today responsible for this case, which is very much ongoing. Not only did we crack into the fraud that these perpetrators committed on the grand stage of the NBA, but we also entered and executed a system of justice against La Casa Nostra to include the Bonanno, Gambino, Genovese, and Lucchese crime families.
I do wish he went Italian pronunciation, right? Like somewhere back there, there's going like, "Hey, it's the Luciano guy. Like this guy can't pronounce nothing already." I thought, Byer, when I read this, that Billups and Damon Jones are accused of using their celebrity to lure people into a playing game, a poker game that was rigged by the mafia. The mafia allegedly, this is my favorite part of the story. They use sophisticated cheating technologies. Now all of a sudden you got Jason Stewart's attention because he's like, "Hey, this sounds like the Astros. I hate Springer. I hate Springer." Anyway. Including shuffling machines that could read the cards in the deck, poker chip trays with hidden cameras, special contact lenses and glasses that could read pre-marked cards, and an X-ray table that could read cards face down on the table. Once a so-called fish, or whale if they're, really valuable, lost, the mafia used extortion and violence to make sure they paid their gambling debts, Nocella said. Investigators found the scheme involved members of, the Bonanno, the Gambino, the Lucchese, the Genovese crime families, right? Like, it's the one time. I'd love to say that they're not Italian mafia families, but they're all Italian last names. I can't make that up. I thought that part to me, and then the idea that Terry Rozier told a buddy he's going to leave a game early with a knee injury. There's video of that game, which he to bet the under, and then the guy collected the winnings and then came over and cut up the under with him. Those are the parts to me that are more interesting than the actual headlines. How about you, Dan Byer?
Well, yeah, I think that they would be. I mean, because the details get into all the nitty-gritty stuff. But I also look at it and say that I feel that Terry Rozier's role is separate from how I view Jones and how I specifically view Billups.
Yeah. Because
Billups is, he's a Hall of Fame player. Chauncey Billups was a guy who did media. It's this mask that you had no idea, that you never would have guessed was behind all of this, and to the point of suckering people into rigged poker games so he could get a cut. I think when sports gambling became legal, we wondered that if guys would doctor their minutes, if they would fake an injury. And we've seen that so far with Jonte Porter, and now we've seen it with Terry Rozier. So I think Rozier's part is separate from what Billups is. But the other thing in the article done by ESPN and what the FBI has revealed is with Damon Jones, who had a close relationship with LeBron James, LeBron is now, while he's not named and not a part of this, becomes a part of this because the FBI found that Jones had given information that LeBron was not going to play a game for the Lakers against the Milwaukee Bucks in 2023. And so now it's, where do all these tentacles go? So that is obviously the biggest story, is in all the details. It's now where all these cracks and all these leaks end up trickling down to, maybe to the greatest player of all time, who we don't know if LeBron had any role in all of this. Right now, he doesn't. But I was shocked by Chauncey Billups. So now I'm not going to put anything past anybody in talking about this stuff.
Yeah, it's Jay Stu. What most intrigues you about these stories?
Just the line that you had read about the extortion and the leveraging of people that are losing a lot of money. That's what Adam Silver should be most concerned about. When people involved in his league that have direct chances of, determining the outcome of games and these prop bets, when they get leveraged, when they get compromised due to violence or financial leverage, what they will do to get out of that compromise. I think that people kind of lose sight of that. Like, this isn't just a gambling story, and I think the casual nature of this is like, sports gambling's legal. What's the problem here? I mean, sports gambling's legal. What's the problem is when these types of people that have been doing this for decades and decades get leverage on people that can determine games, and then you have all these people with access to these prop bets. I kind of want to go back to a piece of sound. Michael Porter did a podcast in August on One Night with Steiny. And remember, we played it on the podcast, and what strikes you most about this sound isn't what Porter's saying as much as how he is saying it, how casual he is saying it, which tells you this is talked about all the time among NBA teams.
Think about it.
There you go.
You get mad at these dudes that do the sports betting, but think about if you could get all your homies rich by telling them, yo, $10,000 on my under, this one game I'm gonna act like I got an injury and I'm gonna sit out. I'm gonna come out after 3 minutes, and they all get a little bag because you did it one game. Like, that is so not okay. But some people probably think like that. They come from nothing, and 100%. All their homies have nothing.
100%.
And they're like, bro, if I come out of this game after 3 minutes and y'all all hit on my under, we're all getting a little bag.
I just think Adam Silver should be stunned by the casual nature of that.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, hey, wait, what happened yesterday? That's right. The NCAA approved the ability for coaches like myself and for student athletes to gamble on professional sports. What could possibly go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? It's really interesting, the sports gambling aspect to it, which is it's like we try and avoid the human nature of it. Jason, you and I, we've all seen this coming. And the gambling companies, by the way, that even support this show and this network, right? Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you, tell you that the only reason we still exist is because of gambling, right? The reason the NFL is so popular is because of gambling. But just like anything, it is a drug, okay? And people cannot control it. Just like there's a percentage of people that I can have a beer or 2 beers, I'm good. If I'm not driving and it's a night when I'm good. But I'm not going to wake up the next day thinking I got to have another beer. I got to have another drink. If I have more than 2 beers tonight, I will wake up tomorrow going, I'm not drinking for a month. Like, I just don't feel great. Like, whatever. That's just how I'm wired. But many people wake up thinking, when is the moment where 5 o'clock hits and I can get to my next drink? And then there's some people that wake up at first thing in the morning like, I just got to have a drink to go to work, right? That's that gene or whatever, the disease of alcoholism. Well, it's the same thing with gambling. Same thing with gambling. And, there's no licensing for it. There's no training course for it. You can do it on your phone. And just like anything else, you'll get that immediate rush and high and make a little money and be like, this is easy. No, you're going to lose money. That's how it works. It's just a case of are you losing the type money that you can say, hey, it was entertaining, it was fun, and then I won a little bit. But yeah, people will do evil things to not get exposed, not just for gambling, but for losing massive sums of money. And once you pick up that phone, once you answer, once you say, I don't have enough money to cover this debt, you will do anything to get out of it. And then once you try and do anything to get out of it, now they got you and they can do anything they want to you because you don't want to get exposed because you'll never be able to work in your sport again. Go ahead, Dan.
It's funny because, and I'm even looking up at my screen right now, and at one point Terry Rozier was investigated by the NBA and found no wrongdoing. It's like, oh, how crappy is your investigation then now if you found no wrongdoing, but now the FBI is like, here was a time where 30 bets were placed on Terry Rozier numbers, which is my point. I think when gambling became illegal, I think other people think this way, that it's, all right, you're picking the Knicks to beat the Cavs. And if Donovan Mitchell throws away a basketball late, oh, maybe that's him fixing the game. But the fact that there are lines on what Terry Rozier does is the problem. Because I had this conversation with him the last couple of weeks. I said, you're not going to have a superstar or a main game be the way that you make money on this. What it's going to be is something subtle, and it's something little. And the reason that they were set off or tipped off to this, the sportsbooks, were because of the unusual high activity towards Terry Rozier's number on that night. And to me, what an atrocious plan. Like the documentary about whatever went down with Chauncey Billups and how Damon Jones was involved in that's going to be fascinating. This Terry Rozier stuff is silly to me, considering that it seems it would be pretty obvious that Terry Rozier's getting all this action. Maybe something's awry here. And the fact that we actually have lines on Terry Rozier. Like, it's not just over-unders and it's how many points is LeBron going to have or how many points is Kevin Durant going to have. Like, we're going down to Terry Rozier, and that's where the money is made. That's the part where I think when this was all made legal, we didn't realize and how deep this could go. And I think this is a perfect example because it just looks pretty stupid to me that people think that Terry Rozier and those people could get away with that. You guys agree? Like, I mean,
I totally agree. I completely agree. Completely agree. But the idea that who's going to notice? They all notice. It's not. Do you remember the Alabama baseball coach who got fired a couple years ago? Right, because he called his buddy in Indiana, and he said the starters out, and they put like $20,000 on the game. Like, it's just a little. Yeah, people don't bet $20,000 on an Alabama baseball game. Of course, it sent off alarms.
Yeah, that's why the Packers and the Cowboys, like they're bet the most, right? Because they're the most popular teams. There's an actual feeling for them. Why would there be any feeling towards Terry Rozier's line that night and have it all end up being unders?
I think there's also a point, because I hear this from some guys who look at all this and say, well, the system's working for gambling. The bad actors are getting caught. But I not to get political, but like I'm pretty sure the same thing was said about Watergate back in the day. I'm pretty sure that was the exact line. It's like, well, the system's working, we're catching corruption, but it keeps, when you're in a PR battle like something like the NBA is, where it is you want to, because there is a magic to sport. You have to convince everyone it's all on the up and up at all times.
Yes.
And the more times this happens in public, the more cracks in that happen until nobody believes you anymore.
Correct.
And at that point,
it's a great point, and it's why the Donaghy thing has done so much harm to this league. And here's this works in concert with what we'll talk about in the pod, Chris, what you and I discussed. The first two nights of the NBA have been great. Even Jason Stewart was like, I actually liked watching an NBA game. And Jason had been like, I'm done. Like, I don't, But if you watch Oklahoma City play, those guys play hard, kind of egoless. The Rockets are a fun watch. Those two games the first night were great. Last night, Victor Wembanyama scored 40 points and 21 shots, thoroughly dominated. Looks like, forget about the next star, he looks like a star. And after two really good nights of play, now all of a sudden the ship is taking on a ton of water. And even though none of the allegations involved affecting the actual outcome of a game, right? Just like when you get a new iPhone, if you get your iPhone 17, right, you got to click on all the things that you're agreeing to. We read, again, the parts that jumped out to me are the X-ray table, the hidden camera, the special contact lenses, right? That's the stuff I'm like, dude, this is like a movie. This stuff really exists. It's unbelievable. To the average fan, like, of course, the NBA, they're throwing games. They don't care. It doesn't matter. They're not reading any of these details. This does. I don't know if the word irreparable is too, but it does a ton of damage to what Chris Perfett is talking about, the credibility of the league, and that's a hard one to come back from. This from the NBA. We're in the process of reviewing the federal indictments announced today. Terry Rozier and Chauncey Billups are being placed on immediate leave from their teams. We'll continue to cooperate with the relevant authorities. We take these allegations with the utmost seriousness, and the integrity of our game remains a top